Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Vitamin C Show. Today, I am here with my sister, Issa, and we're going to be talking about universal high school experiences. Hand me the book. All right. So, I thought that this episode would be funny to talk about with my sister specifically because she actually just graduated from high school, and I wanted to see what similarities and differences there were from when she went to high school versus when I went to high school. Makes me sound really old, but for reference, we're 5 years apart. So doesn't seem like a lot, but there's surprisingly a lot of changes, I'd say. So let's talk about the high school stereotypes, which in my opinion have not really changed all that much. Like you have the rich, white, popular, cliquey person, which I feel like that's been going on since the dawn of time. Like, since high school was a thing in America.
Since white privilege was
established.
Since
segregation!
Since we colonized the country.
There's a white, rich, white, rich, preppy person that thinks that they're popular, but they're only popular because they're rich. Okay. And then there's the Brazilians. I don't know if that's in every single school, though. Maybe it's just Florida.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I was like, we literally live, like, surrounding all these islands, No, they're just, like, as long as I've been going to school, they've been a thing, and And
they only hang around with themselves.
Yeah, bro, they like to segregate themselves.
Yeah.
Like, on purpose.
And they'll speak Portuguese in school.
Yeah, they'll just keep in their own little bubble, and that's that. They'll just stay there.
So I guess we can call that like a Florida stereotype, but I did experience that when I was in high school as well. Then we have the emo goth kids. I feel like the they them snake girl falls into this. What do you think?
Well, she wasn't emo.
Oh. Well, what do you define as emo?
It's just, see, like, you're one of the, no. Because she's one of those people that's like, if you wear, like, a black dress, emo! No. Yes, you are. I think if we're asking what I would define being emo as, it's like someone who actually literally, like, adapts the actual style, and, like, the culture, the preferences, everything like that. Now, I will say, I've met some, like, emo people, like, who have that style that, like, they're chill. They're not, like, super weird or whatever. Like, we can talk, we can converse, and they're fine. Like, it's purely just a style preference, and that's perfectly fine. And then I've met, like, emo people, not like Snake Girl, but they are like they're weird. Snake Girl, she dressed like, I don't want to say normal, but she dressed like the kid that just has no fashion sense, you know?
Yeah, like with like Skechers and like literally. Yeah, okay.
That was what it was, but she was. We used to call those
horse girls, which I feel like
we still
they have like the same style, but they're just cringe in different ways.
Right. No.
So then the fourth stereotype we have is the theater kids. I feel like these are the most annoying.
Yeah, in my school, like, I guess it varies depending on where you go. In my school, like, theater's a really big thing. And I'm not gonna lie, like, I'll go to the shows. It's entertaining. They're fun to watch. And it's not even that I don't think they're weird. But I will say, like, if you are not in their little clique and their group, they just won't talk to you, like, won't accept you, which is ironic because at least at my school, they, like, preach, you know, acceptance and equality and, like, all are welcome, but the instant, like, they mad competitive too. Like, if there's someone new,
what was it you said, like, about Lil?
If Lil Timmy sings a higher note than you during the audition, they're out for blood. Like, they do not.
You've lost a friend. They
don't play,
which, like, I think is ironic because it's like they are super competitive, but they like being friends with people who are less than them. So if you're less talented than them, join my club.
Me and Sarah are besties, but can she belt that E flat?
Oh
no, she sucks and she's tone deaf, which is why we're besties. Like, what?
Yeah, the moment she does, it's over. Then the fifth one we have is band kids, which we were talking about how, like, there's two types. There's like the normal ones that are actually kind of cool.
I worded it as like there's the band kids and then there's the kids in band. Like,
oh yeah, that's what you
there's
said.
like there's just a difference. Like kids who are like, for example, at least at my school, if you were like in marching band or something, like 9 times out of 10 people were like, oh yeah, like the marching band kids are cool, they were fun to watch. But if you were like in like,
And they were good.
no,
like,
yeah,
they're actually
they were
good.
But if you were like a kid who was like, I'm in percussion ensemble and I play the xylophone,
Those are the ones that are the most cocky about it too.
yeah, they're like, I'm a band kid. I'm like, girl,
You ain't got no talent, and you're.
And then we have like the kids. Like we thought these kids were super cool. Like the kids in drumline, they were like, I was like,
No, those are actually good.
no, they were,
And
were
those
peak.
are actually like fun to be friends with.
Yeah, I agree.
And then the last one we have is the everything kid. Every school I feel like has an everything kid. What is an everything kid? It might not be an actual stereotype, but I feel like it is something
I feel like
that
every school just has
every
one.
single school has one for each grade. It's not just like one for the entire school. Like every graduating class has a fucking everything kid. Let me tell you what the everything kid is. The everything kid is someone who literally did every single club. Everyone knows them. Everyone likes them. But they don't necessarily like know and like them because they're rich, like the white popular kids. It's because they're literally in everything, and so you have to see them all the time, and they're fun to be around. And usually, at least in my case, this person was also like in SGA, or they won prom king or whatever. Like they're just the person that are so overly involved that, yeah, that's why they're the everything kid.
Yeah, at least like I just had my like my graduation literally less than a week ago, and like the everything kid in my grade at my school was like in SGA, was in like every club, was in sports, was in like the highest performance.
How do you have that much
performing
time?
arts ensembles. Like he was quite literally everywhere, and he was like in our academic top 10 as well. Like he was
true.
just
Oh
like,
yeah, you did see him on the stage.
He was just
Like
he was
in everything, and he had time to be on the top 10.
and then like had chords of every color, stature, like literally everything. And then like our valedictorian also, not an everything kid, but he was like, this kid is graduated with like a 5.6 GPA. I'm like, I didn't
And he
even know it
chose
went
to go
that
to
high.
UCF. Be so for real. Dad and I were literally making fun of this at the graduation because if y'all didn't know, and I'll probably say this in every episode, I can't stand the University of Central Florida. And on my LinkedIn, I actually made a post about it. So when I graduate, instead of being like, my hard worked 4 years, I'm going to be like, bye, UCF. And the funniest part of all, now, I'm not going to sit here and talk about like why I hate my school because there's so many reasons, but I will say that UCF is really good if you want to do anything medicine or anything engineering. Those, like, it is a good school. So if he's doing that, then okay, maybe I understand why he's going into it, but
he's going for engineering.
Okay. Then it is a good program for that. Like, but my dad and I were literally
Really?
sitting in the audience going like after they said he has a 5.6 GPA and he plans to go to the university, he's like, para eso I would have gone to Yale. I would have gone to Harvard. Like, what
No,
you doing
literally.
here at UCF? And if he has that high of a GPA, he probably has a lot of scholarship or like a merit scholarship. In other words,
100%.
I'm assuming he could have chosen to go wherever. Why UCF, dog? That should have been to go to MIT. I don't get it.
No, literally them. But yeah, like I'm just over here thinking like, where did you have the time to do everything? I mean, in my sense, I get everyone's life.
Maybe
is
he lived
different.
close. Well, by that I mean like he had the resources to go
No, like,
across the street.
My thing is just like, everyone's life is different and everyone has like different responsibilities, different things they have to do. For me, I'm just thinking about like in my life, there was just no way to like, there was just
In neither
no,
of our lives. What
Yeah.
do you mean in my life?
well, yeah, yes, I mean like, what, like, I guess what I'm just trying to say is like, throughout my high school experience like
what she's trying to say is
there was
our
just-
mom would have never
Yeah.
contributed
like
to actually doing all these extracurriculars.
a really big like
Chorus was enough.
Yeah, a really
Like-
big block, and a reason why I didn't do a lot of things was because our mom just never. She just didn't like driving, and she just never wanted to drive us. And I love my mom, and I give her credit for like driving me to my school every day because I wasn't zoned for the school that I went to, and she really didn't have to do that, but she
Yeah,
did.
go ahead and tell the world now. Yeah, you have your diploma. Illegal acts.
Yeah, no, like I was never zoned for the school that I went to, but I just really wanted to go there, and she took me there every day. So like I'm thankful for that. But that was the extent of it. Like if I wanted to do like clubs or this or that, couldn't do that. And not only that, I had to wait for like 2 or 3 hours after school every day to wait for her to pick me up, which actually prompted me to get my first job because I was so bored. And I was like, I could be making money right now, and I'm not. But like to literally do anything, even the most bare minimum shit, like go to football games, my mom would say that if I wanted to go to a football game, I had to wait after school with my backpack, which, by the way, school lets out at 2, and the football games start at 7.
No, literally.
So she knew, like,
And it's like,
I just
even
wasn't
though
gonna do
we
it.
weren't zoned for the school, we weren't super far where we couldn't drive back. But basically, moral of the story, she didn't like driving, and that was that. And that's been like that since I was little.
Yeah,
because
since
I
I
remember I
remember.
wanted to be a little Girl Scout.
You want to be a Girl Scout?
Yes, I want to be a Girl Scout. And
That's so unserious. I can't.
I don't know the full extent as to why she said no, but I mean, after growing up, like I could assume something had to do with either the camping or the
It's high
driving or both.
maintenance, yeah.
So, for this kid, going back to the original point, for this kid to have done all that, you need to have supportive parents, one, but you also need to have the resources, because I know he couldn't drive himself like the entire
like
time.
if your parents are open to driving you, like
committing to literally
to that-
almost being a part of it just as much
No,
as you
yeah,
are.
it's like, and at least at the school that I go to, it's like very suburban, like very community based. Like the parents like to participate. Like even my own boyfriend does, like he did like a very high maintenance sport that would require him to drive very long distances every day, have games like multiple times a week every day. But his parents like pulled through. They drove him to literally everything, and it's every day too. If you have the resources, if you have someone or your parents can drive you or take you to all these places, like you can get a lot more done, because at least your freshman and sophomore year, pretty much, you still are really reliant on your parents.
Yeah.
It's not really till you get your car, your license,
If,
that you can.
not even
Yeah.
when, it's if. Some people don't even.
Yeah, some
Nate
people
never
don't
got
get a car. Like, if you don't have like those resources, like don't have a ride, don't have people to give you a ride, don't have a car, don't have a license, like you're cooked, bro. Like you won't be doing nearly as much. But it's like those kids that their parents like
The everything
really pulled
kid
through.
had the resources.
Yeah.
In other words, point blank.
Mm.
The next thing that we wanted to talk about was generational differences. Because like I said, I actually read an article recently on the Wall Street Journal talking about how Gen Z, I think, has it's like a 15 or 12 year total for the generation. That's very wide for a generation. And so within Gen Z,
There's like
there's-
three sub
there's like
generations
sub
almost.
generations, because for example, my Gen Z, I was born in 2002. There was no iPhone. I saw life. I grew up, and I don't want to say I grew up because
Girl, you lived 5 years.
no, like I was I think 7 or 8 when the first iPhone came
Well,
out.
the first iPhone came out in 2007. Yeah, so you were 5.
5.
If you let's do the math. If
Okay,
you were
well let me
born
put it
in
this way. Let me put it this way.
2002.
It came out, but I'm referring to when my parents got it. Because okay, so it comes out, I didn't know the news, I didn't see it. It's like
yeah, people
I
still
was
had
like
Blackberries and
Yeah,
Nokias.
I
Some
was like
people-
maybe 6 or 7 when Dad got the first iPhone, and I saw it, and it was like the most fascinating thing. And so my point here is, I actually had a portion of my elementary school years without a lot of technology, and even towards the end of my elementary school years, there was already an iPhone, and we were only at like the second or third one. my parents had it, but I didn't. There were no iPads. iPads weren't a thing yet. Like, there wasn't certain technologies. There wasn't any social media. Facebook came out a little bit shortly after the iPhone. So I did get the beginning and like the tail end of life without that. And Gen Z afterwards, like there's kids within the middle of Gen Z that they only know life, like you only know life with Apple products. Like,
right.
It's not as bad as Gen Alpha where it's like very heavily saturated, but you don't know life without the products.
I would say, like, if I were to divide it, like, Gen Z, there's, like, your generation, which I would quote as, like, when does Gen Z start? 2000? 2001?
No, it literally starts in, like, 97.
Oh.
Yeah, like, tail end of the 90s.
That's...
So, which is why they call them Zillennials.
I guess...
Because it's, like, you have a little bit of a
I feel like Gen Z should just start at 2000, because if you're a millennial, then...
Yeah.
Whatever. I would to, like... If I were to divide it into, like, sub-generations, there'd be, like, your generation, which I guess would be wherever Gen Z starts, to, like, 2004, 2005. And then there's my generation, that's, like, 2006 to, like, 2009-ish. Where, like, yes, I don't know what life really looked like without technology. And I myself was only ever given Apple products. And, like, I had phones and smartphones and things like that.
What do you remember in elementary school? Like, what do you remember that experience being both in school and out of school?
Technology-wise?
Yeah.
Okay, well, when I started in school, we didn't have, like, laptops like we do now.
Right.
Like, everywhere, even elementary schools have laptops. We had, like, a computer lab with janky old Dell, like, big chunky desktops. We had those. I didn't have a phone till I was 13. So I had like a little iPod that I would just like play my little games, like play my little music on.
So see, her first iPod was the Touch, like an iPhone.
Right.
My first iPod
was the one that could just play music.
Was the Nano.
Nano.
That's you don't even know. No.
Nano.
It had no screen. It was just a little square. With,
yes, I've seen those. No. I just didn't know it was called the Nano. I thought you were talking about the iPod that had, like, the really tiny, like,
I did have that one afterwards, but yes.
And that one could just play music. No, yeah. My first iPod was just, like, pretty much the very first iPod Touch. Yeah.
And so, as you can see, like, there is some sort of difference as far as generational differences go, but in high school, for example... let's start with the differences, I guess, first. The differences that I have down are fashion trends first and like identification / sexuality. So I guess we could start with the fashion trends.
Like, let's see.
The fashion trends, like the way that we dress was different. So only doing high school, because we know we went to elementary school in different times. I went to high school between 2016 and 2020. And I feel like within those 4 years, there was my freshman and sophomore year was a completely different fashion trend. And my junior and senior year were a completely different fashion trend. The first half of my high school was the 2016 era, where people would cake their face with makeup. People were waking up at like 4:35 a.m. to like get ready to go to the Met Gala. I was like, what is going on?
But, like cut crease, thick brows, heavy contour.
It was 2016. And the thing is, like, and don't get me wrong, some of the makeup looks actually look decent because that's when eye makeup started to really become like a thing.
That's one thing that 2016 like cooked with. Like, they were the start of that like really creative, like, oh my god, I didn't even know you could be that intricate with it,
with eyeshadow.
That's like a good thing.
So makeup really excelled. Granted, it was way overdone because like foundation, contour, everything was just caked on caked, and it was all matte. That was like the thing. Matte eyeshadow. There was the Anastasia Beverly Hills palette, the Renaissance palette that everybody wanted. The Kylie lipsticks that literally left your lips like rock. Like, it was so matted, but that was a style. Then makeup wise, and then clothes wise, those first 2 years were like army green jacket, choker, striped shirts, skinny jeans, ripped
Vans,
the Dan
loafers,
Daniels, those were the checker Vans.
messy
There was
buns.
the rose bomber jacket. That was a really big thing in high school, amongst other things.
You had one.
I did.
Yeah, you had all the trends.
And then the second half of my high school was the Visco. Like, immediately, some of the trends stayed. The makeup was gone, but it was scrunchies, hydro flasks, turtles, hair straight. It was a completely different aesthetic. And honestly, I mean, looking back on it, I kind of like that I was a part of both of them, because in its own way, when you look at the pictures from then, it looks like its own little era, as if I was looking at, like, for example, my mom's pictures or my grandparents' pictures from the 80s. Like, it actually looks like its own little time frame.
Yeah. I will say, like, for me, like, going into high school, because pretty much right as you were leaving high school, I was going into high school, especially with the pandemic wrecking it. So my start of high school, like my first 2 years, if you will, was like that Visco era that was slowly leaving. I also got like, it was a mix of the Visco era that was still like coming in, and then like the like just, you knew, like 2020 lockdown era where people were just like
I'm so
doing crazy shit in their houses. Like a really big part of this was like eyeliner became like a really big thing.
No, but the 2020 pandemic aesthetic is so like,
that's what I kind of started with. Like you say it like, oh it's, and some people are like, we don't talk about 2020, but it's like
me. Like, do not mention that year, and I'm like twitching.
But that was kind of like what I started with, so I got that, and then like that 2020 like Zoom meeting aesthetic shit, I got that, and then like the second half, more of my like my senior was definitely like the 2000s coming back. A lot of fashion trends that were big in like the early 2000s, like the baggy jeans, the baggy shirts,
I feel like the good stuff from the early 2000s.
Yes, I will
because
say.
When you look at them red carpet pictures from the early 2000s,
Ashley Tisdale at the 2000s.
Bro, she had a monkey shirt or something. What was that monkey called? You know what I'm talking about, right? That specific monkey that was on, like, it had its own style. There is a name to it, but I don't know.
Monkey core. Yo, pause. No.
But were you a part of Monkey Core?
Like, it was, insert a picture of monkey.
It was the good stuff of it. You know what I didn't like about the early 2000s? The makeup. The hair was low-key cool.
It was like...
And then the outfits. Why did they layer so many shirts? You guys, I don't think you guys... Bro, no, shake it up. They would put every single shirt in those girls' closets on for one video. It'd be like, okay, how many shirts do you have? 10? That's what you're putting on.
Great. No. Though, like... The hair was cool, like the low-rise jeans. The makeup, yeah, it was kind of ass. It was like tan foundation. It was like too dark, too orange. It was
thin eyebrows.
Thin eyebrows, butthole lips, where you like put the concealer as yeah, I'll never fucking do that. The
crackle.
Oh, the nails, yes. I remember wanting that like in like 20.
No, and we definitely used it. We definitely had it.
Yeah. Hashtag bring back crackle. I don't know. Bring back that aesthetic.
No, crackle can stay in the closet.
Yeah, what was that about? Like, I think it was just cool because it came in the little bottle like that. I don't really know what, like, Reg 40
I still don't know how it works.
They put in that shit to make it, like, come out like that. But it was pretty, so people dig it. But
so now, Issa's, like, tail end of high school is very, like, early 2000s/90s, like, fashion trends, which...
Yes.
So it definitely came back. I think in my freshman year that kind of the 80s were in again. And then that's when it evolved into the 2016 specific. It took like some things from it, kind of like you. It took like some things from it and then some things didn't.
Yeah. Another
difference that is worth highlighting is the they thems. I call it the they thems because pronouns are a thing. They're a part of the English language. Yes, like they're a thing. It's gone out of hand when you have to, like, write yourself as a walking label, and then the people who have literally made up English words, like G, Gemger, and that, why do we say it's a difference, is because when I was in high school, that was not a thing. Thank God. We were not, like, labeling ourselves at all. There was no option, like, now, social media and on Canvas, it gives you the option like list your
Really?
pronouns. Yeah, it does.
Never
I
noticed
don't. That started being a thing. I think
after
in 2021.
Yeah.
After my second year of college, I remember when they first said, "What are your pronouns?"
Yeah, like
So
you'd
the
meet them,
first
like-
time somebody asked me that, I was like, "What?" Like,
Yeah, like it wasn't until I got to high school that people were like, "Oh, like what's your name? Like what grade are you in? What pronouns do you use?" I'm like, "Oh, interesting." My thing is like, because now it's obviously it's a bigger thing than when you were in high school. So like for me, it's actually like it was quite common. It was quite common to see that like at school, and for me at least, like I don't even care. Like, I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you're trans. Like, genuinely,
I just don't think it has anything to do with that.
No,
You know what I mean?
yeah. Like, what I was gonna say is like pronouns. Like, if you're she, her, he, him, and I'll even go as far as saying I can at least acknowledge the words they and them being words that are acknowledged in the English
and
language.
they are pronouns.
And they are pronouns in the English language, English dictionary. But the instant you wake up and you're like, Clementine. Like,
dude, I just don't.
Like,
I just don't understand like why you would want to label yourself
because you want to be quirky. You want to be the first of your kind.
This is a perfect moment to talk about Snake Girl. Because when I was in high school, because these pronouns things didn't exist, and not literally pronouns, I mean you labeling yourself as such, there was no such thing as the off branch. Because the problem is, okay, so the pronouns thing happened and then it festered into something more.
Yeah, like I'm an animal now.
Yeah,
like,
where it's like there's
I'm
different words. And on top of that, there's people thinking that they're like the furries. There's people that thinks that they're animals. And so Issa had an encounter with a girl who thought she was a snake at her high school, and we laugh every time she tells that story.
Okay, so prefacing this by saying, this girl, she like everyone knew her because she would run around the courtyard. She had a rolly backpack, which side note,
red flag number 1.
But if you're someone who's going to high school or is in high school, don't get a rolly backpack. Everyone will hate you.
They'll kick you on the curb.
They'll kick you. They'll trip you. I know this because I did trip her one time.
Oh. I mean, you tripping me with your damn backpack.
That's why I tripped her. No, that's why I tripped her, because she literally hit my ankle. And then, like, I was like,
I imagine you being like Tammy and Amy go, yeah!
No, like, better believe I took action. I took action. But anyway, one day I was just walking to class, normal day, and, like, didn't know this girl. I'd never seen her, never talked to her, whatever. So I'm walking to my class, and then all of a sudden, I see her. She had, like, a snake hat on, like, an actual hat.
You continue telling the story, wait, go.
She had this hat on, and she just starts, like, with her rolly backpack, like, zooming, like, running towards me, slithering, like, actually making snake sounds. And there's some people, like, I'm not even gonna lie, I act like that for shits and giggles, like, to make fun of people like that, like, I'll, like,
not the TH. It's not even.
But I make fun of people like that. So I didn't think anything of it. I just looked back. I was like, okay. And then I walked into my class. And then I heard, like, some of my friends talking about her. And they're like, yeah, but, like, a girl, she actually thinks she's a snake. Obviously not going to name drop. But she's like,
she ain't got no name. Snakes don't have a name.
Well, if you have a pet snake. Hi, Pretzel. Like, what the fuck? Like,
Python.
But
what kind of snake was she?
She wasn't one. That's the point, dog. Like, what kind of snake was she? Human. She was a human snake. A bitch who tripped me. But whatever. So I overheard my friends talking about her. I thought they were joking. My friend was like, yeah, and she identifies as a snake. I laughed. I thought, I wholeheartedly, with my whole heart, mind, soul, I thought she was just fucking around. I thought she was joking. I was like, ha ha ha. That's why they're like, no, Issa. No, like, I wish I could be as serious as she was right now, because she was like, no. Issa, she, like, actually thinks that she's a snake. I was like,
that's so funny. Like,
and I was like, and I said, well, is she okay? Like, because, on the surface, me hearing that, I'm like, Wow. Like, I feel like Dad saying
You
that,
know,
like,
there's been
wow.
people that have these same exact people that have gone to the vet and demand that they be cured, or like the going to the doctor and the vet's like, I cannot help you. You are not an animal, and
Right.
I only can work with animals. Like, imagine being insulted like that with your whole degree. Like, you went to school to be able to learn animal anatomy, to cure animals, and then a human walks in.
Where's your pet?
Where's your pet?
I am my own pet, bitch. Like, no.
It's crazy. And like,
But-
when I was in high school, that wasn't a thing. And I think it's just going to get worse, honestly. I don't know. Maybe it actually, eventually someone puts an end to this and be like, you're not okay. Because the first step is admitting you have a problem.
So, like, literally, when she told me about that, like, me reacting, I feel like Dad saying this, I'm, like, over here thinking, like, wow, she must get some, like, psychiatric help regularly. No,
clearly.
no, she's just a snake.
I want to know where the parents are.
Yeah, I know you had your share of ops.
Not your crusty ass handwriting.
Can you shut up? I know you had your ops in high school, just like I had my ops.
Yeah, let's dive into them ops. Because I literally have a story about a girl. Actually, what's weird is I had 2 girls that were obsessed with me in high school. And they were both lesbian!
Oh, she was?
Yes.
I didn't know
Watermelon was, in fact, a
Watermelon.
The first one, we'll call her, like, Plant. And yes, she's called Watermelon because of that. But first one, we'll call Plant, okay? Plant started in 8th grade. I'm not going to get into that story because it's not, honestly, as interesting. But Watermelon came in my senior year. And at first, like, I was really nice to her, and I started trying to be her friend because she came from a new school as a sophomore, and honestly, I just wanted to, like, be nice. Like, if she wanted to be my friend, sure, whatever. That was the worst decision I've ever made in my life. Like, like, the moment
so
I
it
decided
began.
to be, I will never forget one day where it was like we had a rehearsal in the afternoon. This was maybe like after 1 week of knowing her. We're walking to, like, the Publix / the Walmart that's right behind my high school.
Mm-hmm.
And she says some outlandish, she was like, oh, do you know that this person said this person about you? And this person, I actually don't even think they're that good. I'm like, you're actually crazy for being a new kid on your 3rd day, trying to start all this drama and beef. I'm like, how is it possible that you have beef and opinions about all these people when you just met them? And mind you, if you know anything about me, the only people that I, like, talk shit about is my family members because I know they're literally not involved. I, like, vent to them, but I'm not somebody that actually spreads drama or talks badly about other people to other people because it always comes around. I just don't do that. So as somebody that doesn't do that, I was actually surprised that she was doing it. I'm like, I've actually never thought badly about that person. And if I did, I wouldn't have said anything to somebody else. And I literally tried to be dismissive. I was like, oh, like, I mean, I don't think that's really how they are. Like, I wasn't trying to feed into it. She just kept going, thinking it was the funniest thing. And I was like, that was the first red flag. Flash forward to the rest of my senior year. She kept harassing me. She wanted to be my friend. She kept doing so much shit that I almost had to get a restraining order. And at one point, every single time she did something to all of us, because mind you, it was the entire class that literally hated her. Like, she was clearly the problem. She would try to apologize and say, I'm just trying to be better. I'm just trying to, and this is the kicker. The kicker is she blamed all her bullying and all her nonsense on the fact she had autism.
Which is so not okay.
It's not okay, and it's insulting.
That's what I was going to say.
My cousin has autism. He's almost practically on the verge of nonverbal, and this is the nicest, kindest kid ever. Like, just because you have autism does not mean you're a bitch. It's like the people that justify their behavior with
act like one either.
It's like the people that justify their behavior with zodiac signs. Like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, I'm a Pisces. No, Susan, you're just a bitch.
Well, then go to the water, you fucking fish. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Like,
and so
you're a Pisces.
She actually said, I was in a national choir competition, and she didn't get in. I did. She actually told everybody and the teacher, and I told the teacher too because I thought this was blasphemy. She was like, the reason I didn't get in was because Gabby told the judges about me and she spread information about me around the whole choir that wasn't true. I'm like, first of all, it's an all-national choir. Why would the judges know you?
Yeah, you went Hannah
Second of all,
Montana.
why would anyone in the choir know you when they're from different states? She really thought she was Miss Kim Kardashian. That's insane to me.
Yeah, that's wild.
Then she kept trying to be my friend, and, you know, all of my friends, after I, like, cut her off completely, all of my other friends started having problems with her, and I'm like, dude, why are you still dealing with this? Like, I told you what happened with me, with her. There's, like, so much other things amongst this story. I remember when I went to her birthday party. She really wanted me there. I don't know why. I went, and she decided to, like, basically the birthday party was a roast session. Like, on everyone there. I'm like, okay, watermelon, you could lose some pounds. Oh, can you shut up? So anyway, don't bring up Brit Baby. Anyway, that's my watermelon story of obsession. I guess you could tell your story.
Oh, well, for me, I had more drama with freaking teachers, especially like this this past year, like,
which is surprising because when she was a kid, she always wanted to be teacher's pet.
Well, the thing is, like,
she retired her old.
Let me give some background information. Like, I am not by any means a bad kid. I've never even had detention, never gotten a referral. I've never even gotten dress coded, and I'm a straight A student. So to all that, like, you're troubled. No, I'm not. So let me start out, and I know this, now that I'm realizing the story isn't going to make me sound good, but whatever. So let me just set the scene, because so it's just an agricultural science class that I took this year just because I needed just an extra space to fill. And the teacher I was supposed to have was actually really good. But then, like, it got switched around like it always happens in the school system. And our teacher, we just didn't have a teacher the first, like, month. And then our teacher, our, like, supposed teacher came in a month later. Thick accent, Egyptian, weird. Oof. He did not speak little to no English. Like, it was just really bad. And I'm sorry, like, he treated people based off of gender differently. I'm just gonna say it. And so why this story happens. So we had a test this day. We had a test that day, and I was really nervous because he was an awful teacher. I really thought I was going to fail the test. So I, like, pulled out my phone and I tried to cheat. So I'm a straight A student, promise you. This was actually the first time I ever did this.
You telling this story, like, when is the part that's actually going to get... You're like, everything you did left.
No. Everything I did...
I pulled out my phone to try to cheat.
So I pulled out my phone to try to cheat. And he caught me. Like, and I didn't fight with him for my phone. Like, the people who... the people... who try to, like, I don't even know, like, who try to argue after they're caught cheating, like, what are you doing? So he's like, give me your phone. I give him my phone. He puts it on his desk. He takes my test. He ripped it in front of me because it was on paper. He ripped it and he was like, start again. And I was like, okay, whatever. Ooh. Fair, whatever. You caught me cheating. I didn't, like I said.
You know how far you got into the test?
I was like halfway. So I was like, I didn't put up much of a fight. I was like, okay, you caught me cheating, whatever. So here's what happened. Guy sitting next to me pulls out his phone, starts cheating the same exact way that I'm cheating. My teacher comes up to him and is like, can you just please put your phone away because you're not supposed to have it out? That's what pissed me off. And by the way, didn't make him restart. He just kept taking the test. So I'm like, so what the fuck was the difference? And so, whatever. I finished the test fair and square, didn't cheat, and I get up, turn in my test, and I go to his desk to pick up my phone, right? Because I finished the test. And he's like, excuse me, what are you doing? And I was like, well, I'm picking up my phone. I finished and I already turned in my test. Like, I didn't think there was anything wrong with what I was doing. The class was almost over, too. And he was like, no, put your phone away or I'm giving you a referral and I'm calling the dean. And I was like, what about that kid right there next to me who also had his phone out, cheating the same way, who you just told very politely to put away? Like, to put away his phone. Like, where is the standard different? Because, look, I didn't even mind that he took away my phone, because, yeah, I was cheating. but you're either going to take away both of our phones or tell both of us politely to put our phone away.
And make both of y'all retake the test.
And make us both retake the test. This ain't no double standard shit like...
This is America!
No, why were the rules different for me? And I was like, okay, well, what about that kid who literally just cheated? Like, if the same way I did, why didn't you take away his phone? Don't think I didn't see that. And he just he knew I was right, so he just kept repeating. He's like, I'm gonna call the dean. 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 And
like what? Like autism?
And I literally was like holding my phone, and I was just like, you know what? The class is almost over. I don't really want to get sent home for something this stupid, so I leave the desk. And I start walking. He's like, thank you for like being respectful. And I literally looked at him and I said, I fucking hate you. Because
did everyone hear this?
Yes, everyone was laughing their ass off after I said that because the thing was, I was not the only one who saw it. Like, everyone saw me getting my phone taken away, and everyone saw him getting away with cheating. So everyone was like, okay, well, dead ass, like, what is this double standard? Like, so he can cheat and I can't? Like, what?
No, they probably thought you were like Demi Lovato in Camp Rock going, Mom, don't. They thought that's what they thought you were. They're like, ooh, don't mess with her.
No, because I was so pressed. And like after that, I literally like the bell rang, and then I go up to his desk, and like he like handed me my phone. I snatched that shit with all the force in my body.
Yeah!
Like, because what the fuck are your grubby little paws doing on my phone, bitch? 2, like, don't touch my shit. Like, I left it on his desk. But, like, the thing was, I knew if he had called the dean, I would have had to explain to the dean, like, yeah, well, I was cheating. But so was he.
I cheated, I cursed my teacher, and I took my phone.
It's like, and the thing is, my school never fucking takes the student's side. If anything, you actually have to get your parent involved and, like, almost threaten them for them to actually take action. And this goes for anything. But if it's, like, student, teacher, even if they have, like, photographic evidence, they don't give a shit. You were wrong. And for that reason, I just was like, okay, I'm just gonna, like, bite the bullet and just keep it there.
After you said that, did you, like, leave the room?
Well, yeah, the like, class was over. Oh. And so, like, I literally went back, sat down for 1 second, like, went back, took my phone.
You actually did a very similar thing that, like, now that I think about it, as my Mr. Miller story.
Oh,
like, well, it was almost, I mean, I didn't curse him out, but it was almost the same thing. Like,
that was some senioritis.
I finished my work. I was using my phone to do a math assignment. So, like, I was using the calculator for another class. I was doing work for another class in his class because I was done with his. Sees my phone, takes it away. And then, mind you, this teacher and I had a love-hate relationship with each other. Like, he would joke around with me all the time, but he hated me too. Like, it was a really toxic relationship. He used to call me Rudolph because I told him that when I cried, my nose got red. He was like, okay, Rudolph. I'm like, okay. That day, he took my phone away, put it in his dresser, and that was the 7th period. So afterwards, I literally went to his desk, I pulled out the drawer, and I took my phone, and I left. And then as I'm, like, going down the stairs, because he was going to keep it overnight. He wasn't even going to allow my mom to come get it, which is weird, okay?
Yeah, like, no one does that.
And then as I'm, like, going downstairs, this is in 8th grade, as I'm going downstairs and get to the first level, because I'm quite literally running to escape this man, my friend Jada, who was in the class as me, she calls me, she's like, hey, like, Mr. Miller went straight to the dean once he left. I was like, like, my heart dropped. Long story.
Mom was gonna get that call.
No, like, dude. Long story short, I got in school suspension for 2 or 3 days. But the irony was that the dean didn't want me to go to, like, grad venture, and my mom was like, "If you're not gonna give me my money back, she's going to grad venture." Yeah,
because that's also fucked. Because, like, okay,
they wanted to basically not refund my mom's money, but also not let me go to grad venture.
Yeah, and grad venture is like when a field trip to Universal,
right?
Which is a little pricey, like. And so, like, okay, you don't want my child to go. That's fine.
But give me my money back.
But give me my money because I.
And so it ended up working up in my favor because I still wanted to go to Grad Venture. They weren't going to give her the money back. So the deal was I do in school suspension and I wrote an apology to Mr. Miller, which, by the way, Mr. Miller, if you're listening to this, I did not mean anything in that apology. I wrote it so that I could go. Matter of fact, if ChatGPT was a thing, it wrote it. I wrote it so that I could go to Grad Venture. Just so you know. I wrote a half-assed apology. It was like, Dear Diary. And I went. Mr. I did my 2 days of in-school suspension with all the other delinquents in the school. And then I went to Grad Venture. So
I had one interaction with Mr. Miller because everything she does as the younger sibling paves the road for me. So many fucking people, so many ops I had for just breathing, going into their classroom.
But also expectations.
Oh my god. Like,
good and bad though. I feel like in chorus it was like high expectations, but like if in the other classes it was like
it just always like managed to fuck me over. And like I talked to Mr. Miller one time, and I really don't know what people see because people seem to think we look alike, but I don't think we do. And they're like, "Oh, did you have like a sibling that went here?" And the irony was during this time our stepbrother actually also had Mr. Miller. So he was like acquainted with all of us. And
yeah, but I wasn't even biologically related to him.
Well, but it wasn't about that, but like he knew that
I guess we were living in the same house.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so it's like he didn't like our stepbrother. He didn't like my sister. And so
he
like,
must.
Oh, 3 for 3. I don't like you, but you didn't do anything. Which is the story of being the younger sibling. Like, you don't have to do anything and be like, you're related. You know that scene from Diary of a Wimpy Kid where it's like, Greg Heffley, like, Roderick Heffley. And then he, like, sits him in the front of the class. He's like, I have my eye on you. Like, didn't do shit. It's like the part of being the younger
I was
sibling
Roderick in this instance.
It's the part of being the younger sibling that no one talks about. It's like, wow, I quite literally did nothing. Yet, here I am.
And then I wrote a public speech on something, and I did such a good job because this was an English class, and he liked me again. He was so impressed because I winged the entire speech. He gave me 100. I was the only 100 on the speech. Like, he hated me, but I was so good at public speaking and just like I had a really strong opinion about everything, and I guess most kids didn't. That I feel like I was almost like a challenge for him. I don't know, but what did he say to you? You never finished the...
He just asked me. He's like, oh, did you at one point have like an older sister who went to this school? And I was like, yeah, I do. And they're like, oh, like what was her name? I was like, Gabriella. And he was like, I do remember having her in my classroom, but it was like that passive aggressive tone that you knew. It's like, yeah,
I
like,
traumatized this
student,
man.
Yes, but every day was a battle. Like,
you said that?
No, like, no, like you could tell that was just the tone, like the very passive aggressive, like, oh yeah, she was in my classroom at some point, but like every day was like,
yeah,
it was trifling for that man. I don't know what he experienced.
No, to end the podcast, like I will say one thing that during this time when Issa had that interaction with him, she had to be picked up from like after school, and I was already like a senior in high school, and so I went to pick her up from school, and as I was picking her, this is the same middle school that I went to, as I was picking her up from school, he comes down the stairs into the lobby and goes into the office. We make full-on eye contact, and his eyes looked like he just saw the Satan, or like Lucifer. He was like, and then went into the office. I was like, I did not traumatize you that much, son. But the funniest part of all is that he looked the same. It was like he was Edward Cullen trapped in the 40s. Like, he was 40 years old forever. And then, I guess my face looked the same. I was just taller. So he recognized me instantly. Yeah, and I remember when you got in the car, I was like, dude, I just saw Mr. Miller. Dude. But anyways.
Like
what?
No, it'd be like that. Like, it's just spooky.
Anyways, I think this is a good time to conclude the podcast. Thank you guys for tuning into this episode of the Vitamin C Show. We hope you found it at least a little bit funny and that you'll stick around to watch some more. Next week, we'll be talking about mental health stigmas, and I'll be with my friend Mackenzie. So with that being said, stay righteous, y'all. Adios. You better not delete. You hear me?
Blue. That should be the blooper right after.